Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Camberley Chess Club Zoom meeting. This evening, we have decided to look at Ukraine chess players. They have a wealth of chess players, both chess players today playing, but also going back in time. People like Bronstein, I think a lot of people would know. I certainly knew a few of the major players that we're going to look at today, but they have a huge number of very significant strength players, both men and women. So we're going to look at a few today, including Ivanchuk and Romanishin.
This was the first round of Linares 1991, and Ivanchuk went to win the tournament by half a point from Kasparov. So this game was what decided first prize, essentially. And I think it's a masterpiece. So without further ado, 1e4, c5, knight f3, d6. I suppose you can do this yourself, Colin, since you've got the.
Well, yeah, I can, but you know, I think you ought to decide the tempo of it, as it were.
All right. Well, the next move is Bishop b5 check. So that's Rossolimo, if I'm not mistaken. And there are a number of ways of responding to it. You can move your knight to either square, or you can put your bishop on d7. But Kasparov played the most aggressive move, which is knight d7. And I used to, when I was an e4 player, I used to play this line. I had one quite good battle in the county match. It was eventually drawn against Somerset. But I thought I was better out of the opening, and then he fought back. And eventually we couldn't see a way how he could have won that. But I don't think that's really comparable to this game, I suppose. So moving on with 4d4. So you can take straight away, but Kasparov played knight gf6, knight f6, and castles, leaving the pawn on pre. But if you take it, you run into problems. Apparently, it's in my book somewhere. I don't, if you're interested. So we just move on. Okay.
Sure.
So Kasparov didn't take the pawn. He played c takes d4. So then you take back with the queen there.
Okay.
That's not so natural to take with the queen, is it?
It's perfectly normal now. The knight's committed to d7, so he can't have a go at us. Whereas if the knight could still go to c6, that would be different. Yeah.
I guess it protects the e-pawn as well.
Yeah, it does now, yeah. So black plays a6. And now this is all standard theory. Bishop takes d7. And Kasparov takes with the bishop, not surprisingly. Now this is a bit of a parting of the ways here. You can play Roxy style with c4, which I think I did, or you could play knight c3. But the move Ivanchuk played was 8 bishop to g5, and that asks a question that Kasparov doesn't come up with a satisfactory answer to, because his next move is the decisive mistake, according to well, most commentators. So so e6 is the main line, apparently. If we could have a look at that. Quickly. So one way of playing it is knight bd2 to put pressure on d6. And we won't proceed to that any further. But black can't play b5 because it weakens him too much, I assume. So the knight's headed for c4. And that's a game between Malyutin and Shipov, Minsk, 1993, if you're interested. So back to the game. So Kasparov, yeah, h6. He's not bothered by bishop takes f6.
Right.
And so there's quite a bit of theory in my book here, but bishop takes f6, of course.
Which book is that?
It's Gawain Jones' How to Beat the Sicilian Defense.
Oh, right, okay.
So we're taking the knight. Colin?
Knight.
Yeah.
The knight, Colin, is the one with the horse's head on it, in case you...
On my screen, the bishop has taken it. You're not seeing that. Is the bishop still on
I'm
G5?
seeing it now. I'm seeing it now, Colin.
Okay, that's a bit worrying. That's really
It's a
slow.
bit of time lag, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
It's been bounced from the Ukraine, don't forget.
It didn't want to go. It just didn't want to do it.
No, he's yeah.
Tim was the
Two
equal
bishops
of
and
it.
two knights.
Taking
you
the
see-
pawn, yep.
Yeah, good.
So now big clamp starts to come down, c4, and it's a question of whose play counts for more. So it's two knights against two bishops, and Black also has the extra pawn in the center and the open file for his rook, but his king is caught in the center, so it's rather double-edged. It's surprising how decisively White wins the game. It makes it look almost easy.
Because I think, Tim, looking at this, I think I'd quite fancy being Black. Two bishops, that open G file. It looks, I'm quite surprised that the previous moves were mistakes, or one of the previous ones was a mistake. So let's see how it pans out.
Okay, so now the knight can't go to c4 anymore, so Black doesn't mind playing e6, so that's what Kasparov did. Knight to c3. And then, Jones says, true to form, Kasparov goes for the most aggressive possibility. Black can also play bishop to e7 here, of course. And Jones thinks White's a bit better, but Kasparov's move is more aggressive and more positive, if you like. Rook c8. And put your rook on open files. So now White's achieved his ideal setup, more or less. So he parks his king now on h1 and waits to see what Kasparov does. Okay, so the next move is h5. So that's why he didn't play bishop e7, I suppose. Well, no, he does play to e7 eventually, so he's already trying to attack, actually. White plays a4. Just clamping down on the queen side. Kasparov carries on pushing the h pawn. And now Ivanchuk does play h3 to stop it going any further. Then bishop e7. And then b4. Now, that may look a bit airy-fairy, but nothing of the sort, as we'll see. According to Jones, Black's play on the king side has come to naught, and White has started up a pleasant initiative on the queen side. So Kasparov agreed with that assessment because he played a5 here, trying to break up White's queen side. So Ivanchuk just advanced his b pawn to b5. So there's a backward c pawn now on an open file, but he says, well, Gary, your bishop's not going to be attacking that, so I'm not bothered. There's a suggestion of rook c5 here, but Jones doesn't like it. So we'll just look at queen c7, the game move. So now knight d2 required to defend the pawn. And the queen comes out to c5. Okay. Now, would you want to swap queens?
Well, I wouldn't.
No, it's of course you don't.
Clients.
No, it's, he retreats to d3 and he certainly doesn't want to swap queens. Two knights against two bishops. The last thing you want to do is swap queens, I think. At least Kasparov's got his queen to a slightly better square, I suppose. So then now rook g8. And then white commits himself, rook ae1. So the queenside advance is over for the time being, and he's going to advance the f pawn in due course, and possibly get a breakthrough in the center. But it still doesn't look too bad for black. So one suggestion here, b6 by Anand.
Tim, I'm a little surprised that black hasn't tried to maneuver his king so that he could double rooks on the G file. You know, I'm not sure how, but it seems like it would almost be worth spending a couple of moves to do that.
It may yet come.
Ah, okay, fine.
Well, I don't know. No, that's it. I was
Good point. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm surprised he's not got on with it by now.
Well, it's too late now because f4 is coming, and then e5, and then he can't take away from the d file because his bishop's going to be on pre. So that window is closing rapidly.
Can't black play e5 there?
Well, he can, but it presents d5 on a plate, you know. So that's not what he wants to do.
Yeah,
you end up with a really horrible black squared bishop that's got absolutely no future.
Not much future there at the moment.
no. Well, just be patient.
He ought to get one of his bishops manoeuvred and king better placed. It appears. Anyway, let's see what happens.
Well, this is the great Kasparov we're talking about here. Who are we to poo-poo his moves? So queen to g5. I can spot the threat.
Oh, sorry.
Queen to instead of b6. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's right. And
He spotted it then.
so white plays rook g1. He doesn't want to move his pawn or play queen f3. So that's the move he's got left. So according to Gawain, black has only a temporary initiative. And Ivanchuk now gives a good demonstration of how to push black's pieces back. Well, the bishops haven't got very far forward as it is. But everything, it's amazing the way he pushes Kasparov almost off the board here. So queen f4, attacking f2. So rook ef1. So he's going to have to bide his time before he can play f4, but it does come, I seem to recall. And so yes, b6 now. How much constructive is possible as far as I can see for black. That's his big problem. Knight e2. So he has to move the queen again. So he goes all the way back to h6 now. He can't keep it in the middle of the board. Now, f4 is suggested here by one commentator, which is entirely reasonable. That's probably the move I would have played. But check out the move played, c5.
Wow.
An interesting pawn sacrifice. Interesting is the word. Now Kasparov takes it with the rook here, but it's possible to take it with either pawn. If he has to take it, otherwise c6 is coming. So if he takes with the b pawn, there's a strong passed b pawn for white now. He's threatening to go the distance.
So I didn't mean to do that.
Rook takes looks fine. In fact, I was hoping to go rook c5 anyway.
The
Okay.
knight's got a very nice square as well
Yes.
on c4, which I guess is the main purpose of the sacrifice.
Right. Yeah, that's the purpose, isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah,
So, and D takes is no good either, is it? Really?
It had to be tried according to Mr. Jones. Knight c4.
Yeah.
They give rook b8 to defend
Oh,
the
dear.
b pawn.
the b pawns.
Rook b8, yeah.
He's got full.
Rook b8. Sorry, beg your pardon. Yeah.
Surely he's got full compensation now, hasn't he? I mean, rook d1, and then
D1. Yeah.
Bob's your uncle. Bob
Oh.
Jones is your uncle. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, according to Jones, White suggests f4 and f5 with great compensation, but although it's debatable if the pawn sacrifice was objectively correct, as White had such a great position before it,
Oh,
which is a bit let's say majesté, shall we say? But
yeah, that's a bit sour face, isn't it?
Rook D1 looks stronger than F4 now that
As
we've...
recommended by me.
Yeah.
I should have
Yeah.
written that book, whatever it is.
yeah, you can't play rook b7 because his rook's overloaded. There's just knight b6 there, so
Yeah.
it's gonna have to.
Bishop
I
c8.
don't know. Bishop c8. I think he's looking at there.
I just, yeah,
Sorry, put it on the board.
Yep.
yeah. Bishop c8, and then what? Knight d6.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Look bad, does it?
Yeah, because the queen could come in on.
Mind you, could go bishop b7 to defend after knight in takes.
Or you could go to f8 and try and hide over here.
Yeah, it's king f8. I think is what he'll have to do.
Yeah, doesn't look. It looks more like a positional sack rather than an attack sack somehow.
So what about rook takes? Isn't that looking better for black?
It
We'll
is.
have a look. We'll come to that now, shall we?
Okay.
That's the move Kasparov played.
Okay.
It's given us dubious, but knight c.
Looks as healthy as.
I suppose knight c4, and then it's difficult to defend the b pawn
Exactly.
because you
Knight-
can't put your bishop back to d8, can you? Ooh,
Not unless you want to leave d6 on prey.
right. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. I didn't see that several moves back, but it's clear now.
So yes. So he has to hold on to d6, but b6 is dropping. So yes, king f8 now. Just well, that makes the choice for white. He plays knight takes b6.
The
you
oh,
crumble.
sorry, I've got it there.
Oh,
And well, I'm almost feeling sorry for Gary now.
It looks awful, doesn't it?
Yeah, bishop e8, only move. Unless he wants to try rook c7, it's got to be a retreat. And now it is f4. Although rook c1 was also possible. But f4 is nice because he wins on both sides of the board with that.
Mm.
So f5 threatened, so Kasparov plays f5 himself. Pawn takes pawn, ef. Rook takes. Now it is rook c1.
Oh.
Oh dear.
Yes. So rook c8 is obviously going to cause him some grief.
Hasn't Black got any play down the king side? Doesn't look like
No,
it.
an open file does not a summer make, you'll find.
Hmm.
This knight's doing the sterling job, isn't it? It's defending the pawn and stopping the rook coming in.
It
And,
is. Yeah.
and the black bishops never started doing anything. That was the problem.
Yes, it was, and Black couldn't castle routinely. I mean, he could have castled, but it wouldn't have worked out quite as smoothly as it normally does.
So how did it continue?
King g7, which gets a question mark.
Question
I
mark.
can-
Ooh. It doesn't normally get one of those.
I can't think of anything better.
Well,
so knight c8 is probably the best move here, but again, G4 gets slightly criticized, the choice of Ivanchuk.
Wow.
Oh, he did that, did he?
He
Crikey.
did. He certainly did.
but you have to get your timing exactly right, otherwise it balls it up if en passant, and then
Yeah, could backfire.
Yeah. He seems to be playing risky moves. I mean, F4 didn't seem necessary, and G4 seemed extremely unnecessary. But anyway.
Well, that can't take, of course, because queen takes g3, and he's well and truly kebabbed. Well, queen g6, but then just move the queen away, and we're winning material.
Oh, right. Yeah. Hence why King G7 was a question mark.
I would think so, yes.
Because the rook on the G8 is not guarded.
That's checkmate.
Yeah. Very good.
sausages.
So Gary has to go back to c5.
This is the Gary Kasparov, is it? Kasparov.
It certainly is.
Okay.
Yeah, good job you checked.
Yeah.
The world champion.
Ivanichuk's good, isn't he?
He's very good indeed. So rook takes c5.
Oh, that was a
Pawn
great.
takes. And now it is knight c8, as suggested by Mr. Jones earlier. Bishop f8. Naturally, you can't go to f6 because of that clever g4. Like so. And well, this is nearly it now. Queen d8. Oh, I'm enjoying this. Queen g6. So he's,
Do what?
yeah, he's well, he can't save the bishop.
Can't save anything.
He could have resigned basically here.
Hoping for a check on e4, I presume.
Yeah, he is, yeah. But f5 puts that one to bed.
Yeah, even that wasn't that impressive somehow.
Queen h6.
Why not queen f6? Oh, the bishop's on praise as much as anything. Yeah.
Yeah, he can't check on d4 because the knight's covering that. So
Yeah.
queen h6. And then g5.
Oh, always a good move.
Doesn't bother to take the bishop. That's rubbish.
That's a touch of class, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, that's a good move.
So queen h5.
Ooh.
Anyone come up with the next move?
Ooh. Well, perhaps I've been watching too many, James.
Queen f6 check.
Queen f6 check.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, matron, no.
Not quite.
Yeah, queen f6 check, king h7, what then?
Then g6 check. No, I come to the conclusion, come to the conclusion that's a bit too presumptive. So Yeah.
Yeah.
You might want to play knight f4.
Yeah,
instead.
it looks like black's clinging on somehow there.
We got to get our knight into the game.
Yeah, so knight f4 then.
Knight f4.
Yeah.
Queen.
Queen f3 check.
So what? Are you on the right lines, Colin?
And then the crushing knight g2.
No, play.
Oh no. Oh no, sorry. I thought-
Honestly, Colin, get off.
Queen f3 check.
I would at least keep the game going for a bit.
Well, rook g2's. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh,
Yeah. Now you play rook g2.
yeah. Don't worry about the knight.
Or don't worry about queen f1 check
Oh.
either, because you got queen f6 and queen h6, mate.
It's not mate because the bishop's there.
Right.
So is queen f1 check here quite decent?
It is, yeah.
Isn't that just a draw?
Knight
by
F-
perpetual?
Knight f4 is not the move.
No, that's no good.
But you're on the right lines.
It must be f6 first then.
Oh, can we play rook g4?
We certainly can.
G4. Rook g4 just cuts the queen out.
Oh, that's.
Oh, isn't that all?
Yeah.
And then you're threatening knight f4.
And if pawn takes pawn, you go there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
That is wicked.
Now where's the queen
Yes,
going?
Queen goes back to h8. Queen f6 check.
Oh.
King h7. Rook h4.
Oh no.
Finally, you had enough at this point.
Yeah, well, let's.
Hey.
Your choice, queen or rook.
What a game.
Always mate with the least valuable piece available. That should be
Brilliant.
Yeah, what a game, eh?
what a game. But that didn't happen.
That is exactly what happened.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a bit of a spoiler.
Going back, when he took the bishop, I think he should have taken E takes the bishop. Because he just prevented himself castling.
He has, but he thought he was getting an attack, you see. But
Well, yeah.
he takes it, just surrenders the d5 square and leaves a d pawn isolated. So it's going to be a bit of a winter for him after that.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well,
It is quite amusing that this rook played a much more aggressive role than this rook.
Good point.
Yeah, it kind of looks more passive.
So Tim, where did Black go wrong, do you think? What point was his first sort of bad move?
Yeah, that. So I was just going back to this. That looks very weakening for the reasons.
oh, that's awful. You wouldn't play that.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
h6 is the move that's been fingered with the blame, basically.
He doesn't look disastrous, though, does it?
Well, why can't here, instead of h6, why can't we just play e6?
That's the main line.
Suggestion, I think. Yeah.
Perfectly reasonable. Or even e5 if you're an Idolf man.
Oh yeah.
What does the computer say?
Colin?
It's a bit early to say, isn't it? Do you want me to stick it on? I mean, seriously, in the opening.
No, you don't need to.
Okay. Can if you like. Yeah, that was a tremendous game.
What a game, yeah.
Yeah.
So when was that? 91.
Yeah, just when Ivanchuk was in his prime, really.
Yeah.
He's still
And
playing today, is he?
He's still around playing, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He also goes to drafts tournaments as well.
Oh, does he?
Yes.
Wow.
I find that impossible to believe, but it may be because he's a very withdrawn man. He may have health problems or something. And, well, his vision may not be too good. I don't know.
Oh,
but-
I know the feeling.
How
Yeah,
old
why
is he,
not?
James?
You need-
well,
you need
James,
to
how-
find out, James.
I don't know.
Is he under 70?
Oh, yes, he's younger than we are.
He might be called up then.
Oh,
So he doesn't live in Ukraine anymore.
And he, oh, right.
No,
Where
Okay.
does he live, in Spain?
somewhere like that. Yeah, that's where Shirov lives, I think. But maybe he lives there as well. Probably a warmer country, certainly.
Well, you'd be surprised actually that there's a number of people like Spassky. They go abroad and think, it's much more, but as old men, they're pioneering Solarum and they come back again. It's quite a well-known phenomenon.
It's not cold in Ukraine. They grow a lot of wheat.
Yes, I've been reading about that.
Yeah.
They used to. Yeah.
Yeah, now that
Brilliant game, Tim. If you're done on that one, did you want to move on to the other one, please?
Yeah, if you're not ready for a break yet.
No, I think we can keep going a bit longer.
All right.
Thank you.
I do understand this game now that's coming.
Oh, good. Yeah, don't tell anyone anything about it.
Can you see this screen?
I can see save and your
No.
no.
Oh, okay.
It's still-
Did you say it was Stein Krogius or Krogius
did.
Stein?
Previous time.
1960?
Yep.
Let's try this. I'll have to do another share.
Yeah.
Can you see this board?
Yes. It worked. You didn't unshare. You just flipped. Very
Yeah,
good.
I've got no idea. It's some Windows manipulation that ChessBase does. I have no idea.
That's good.
Yeah, anyway, very
Shall we
good.
look at it from Black's point? Shall we look at it from Black's point of view?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Flip the board.
Here we are.
Gosh, you did that without moving your mouse, Colin. How did you do that?
Control F.
Oh, God. Yeah.
F for flip. Yep.
Good. F for
Flip. Yeah.
over to
Okay.
Tim then.
Okay, then. So knight f6, c4, g6.
Did you introduce the game, Tim? Sorry.
It's Stein Black against Crow. Yes, it just says here Russian Federal Republic versus Ukraine 1960. So it's
Wow.
somewhere in the Soviet Union where it was played at that time. But no record of exactly where. Okay. And you've muted Martin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Knight to Queen Bishop 3. Standard King's Indian. Bishop Knight 2, G7. Pawn to King 4, E4. Oh, it's written in the descriptive here. I'll try and do it in algebraic for you. Castles. That's the same, whatever notation you do. Bishop King 2. D6. Knight Bishop 3. Knight F3. See, I'm getting confused now. Pawn to King 4. All right.
I'm just hitting the right arrow, whatever notation you use. So
Okay. So the most common move here, I believe, is castles at this point. But White plays what's would have been quite a new idea at only a year or so old at the time of this game. That's Petroshan's pawn to Queen 5.
I wouldn't say that's new. I play the King's Indian as black, and I thought people have always played D5 in that position.
Well, it was
This is 1960, so it's a relatively
Sure.
new idea.
Okay.
But
Yeah, a
it
lot of
hasn't
the-
been. It hasn't been induced, has it, with Knight C6?
that's right.
Ah, yes.
It's
Okay.
yeah, it's a completely
Yeah.
different approach to.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
Good job I was here to say that, I think,
As usual.
as usual.
Thank you, James. So it's not quite the same as the normal King's Indian now, but in fact, Stein's next move prevents Bishop to G5, which is White's main idea here. He plays pawn to King Rook 3, H6. And according to Ray Keane, it's possible for white to play his knight to queen 2 here. Thanks, Colin. And he shows a game where he played pawn to king knight 4 on the next move as white after well, black played queen knight queen 2. And
Oh wow!
the idea of this is to contain the black pawn break with f5.
That's transposed into a grob, hasn't it?
Who is the what Tim? What is the game reference that Keane quotes?
It's Keane Westernen from Berlin, 1971.
Oh right, yeah. Keane was getting quite creative. He just won the British Championships for the first and only time. So yeah.
Well, he gets a clear advantage by move 16 in this line. So he played knight bishop 1 now, knight f1.
Oh, is it black's move here?
No, it's white's move. Knight f1.
I thought I just played g4.
I think he just played.
Oh, sorry, it's pawn to queen rook 4 here.
Ooh.
Knight to bishop 4, knight c5, knight g3, c6. I'm never a fan of that move in these positions because it doesn't put immediate pressure on the center. I suppose in conjunction with b5 it might do, but
Yeah, I was for that if black plays c takes d5, that the open c file is in white's favour.
yes.
Typically, yeah.
Yes, well, white's got a nice choice, hasn't he, of how he recaptures on d5. If he takes with the e pawn in this setup, he gets a nice square on e4 as well.
Indeed, yeah. And also you've got control of white has control of b5 as well.
Yeah, that bishop's not hurting us now. Anyway, did you want to see more of this? Bishop to king 3. Bishop to queen 2.
Oh, okay.
F3. A4. Queen to D2. CD. CD. Queen to A5. And then knight queen 1. Clear advantage. Knight D1.
Sorry, yes, I was just wondering why white didn't play bishop takes pawn. I suspect
Yeah.
that.
I was going to say that bishop takes h6.
Well, you can swap off and then play A3, and that undermines the C3 knight, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty good. It's
Okay.
worth putting on the board, actually.
Or queen, yeah.
That's sufficient for the pawn, is it?
Yeah, then you can put the queen back to c1 and you're defending again, aren't you?
Well, yeah, how do you defend against pawn takes pawn?
Queen takes pawn. Well, after you've gone queen back to c1.
Queen
Yeah.
queen back. Yes, you can with your
You've
queen.
still got knight A4 then, though,
Yeah.
so still winning for black.
Yeah,
Tim, is that what it says in the notes?
No, the notes only go as far as knight queen 1,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, it
that's
doesn't
why,
do
that's why knight
doesn't-
queen 1's a good move.
Yeah,
I think that's
that's interesting.
pushing your luck a bit. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to push your luck against the King's Indian, you know.
Yeah, but not against Leonard Stein. Well, anyway.
Well, he sort of falls in with black's plans, but that leads to quite a spectacular game.
Yeah.
So anyway, clear advantage. So queen presumably coming off.
Well, we're not playing the Stein game, are we? We're playing
Not at
another.
the moment, no.
No, this is the king. Yeah. Well, if black can't get in F5 in some sort of fairly reasonable way, then he looks really devoid of counterplay in these lines to me. But
That's the
You've got
whole
horrible
idea.
weak pawn. Yeah, you have the horrible weak pawn on D6.
yeah,
That's the idea of it.
so that didn't happen. Oh. And
Knight F3.
so, oh, thank you. Yeah.
So so white's turn, and he castled.
So that changes the game completely now, doesn't it?
I'm surprised they didn't play H3 because the bishop is. I mean, I'd be happy to take it, play bishop G4 and then just exchange it off. When
Yeah, I think white will play knight D2 and sort of keep the knights on and trade the white square bishops,
Why would that be better?
because the knights are better in a closed position than the bishops.
I think I'd still be relieved to be shot of the bishop, because otherwise, if it just stay, it's almost going to.
You've got rid of your least worst bishop, you know. So
Yes, it's very comparative.
Keep an eye on those bishops as this game goes on.
Yeah, but I knew that really. Okay, then.
Okay, so knight H7.
Oh,
And then he doesn't go to D2, he goes to King 1, E1. Still fairly standard stuff. Knight to D7, knight to D3, pawn to King Bishop 4, F5. And the next move gets criticized. Normal would be pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, pawn to Bishop 4, which is double-edged and not really the sort of thing we want against the King's Indian, but because pawn to King 5 is coming. That does remind me of a game I had against Roger de Coverley in January, which I lost. That was for Camberley, actually. And it was this sort of structure where black played E4. I wasn't on D3, but I knew I was slightly worse, and I never equalized basically, and he finished me off quite nicely. But that's as far as we'll go in that direction.
Yeah, still a fairly double-edged game though.
Yep.
You know, this pawn looks impressive, but the bishop's coming here to cover the D4 square.
Well, Roger's king was on H7 rather than his knight, and I had my
Right.
queen on C2, so I thought I could do maybe a break on the king side and get at him,
Yeah.
but it never happened because I was just opening the G file for him basically. So
Right.
so it turned out badly, I'm afraid.
Sorry to hear that.
We need. I remember the game, Tim, or at least I came and looked at it on various occasions, but I don't remember it. I never can remember games, but you must show us that one in the future.
If I can bear to. Okay, so pawn to bishop 3 was played. F3. Well, fairly standard King's Indian stuff from white, and white carries on playing fairly standard moves, but Stein doesn't. He just plays brilliant moves. Pawn to bishop 5, very standard idea. Pawn to queen knight 4, rook bishop 2, pawn bishop 5, knight queen 2 to bishop 3, pawn to bishop 6. So now we have to make a decision as what we're going to do about that advanced pawn. Keane says pawn to knight 3 deprives white of an immediate target, but the fixed black queen bishop pawn would be a nasty weakness for any endgame, and also be difficult to find any squares for the black queen bishop. So what we do is we take the pawn.
Oh, I wouldn't have taken it. I'd have blocked it off because black's attack is on the king side, so I'd have just played b6.
Well, black attacks on both sides of the board in this game.
Yeah, but you give up the square on d5.
Oh, just you watch, Martin.
Okay, fine.
Yes, Martin. Whose side are you on anyway? Right.
Well, I'm not on anyone's side.
Well, carry on, Tim. I think you're doing very well.
Very good.
Pawn takes pawn. Bishop to
Side
king.
of truth.
Bishop to king 3, yep. And white just plays pawn to knight 5, carrying on with whatever business he's on. And bishop to king, bishop 1. Now there's a cunning move. Knight to knight 4. I should quote from Keane again. With a menacing queenside pawn majority and his looming blockade of queen 5, Krogius must have been feeling rather pleased with his prospects. But now Stein sets the game ablaze with a series of sacrifices which cut right across the opponent's policy of containment. You'll have guessed the first move from that, I suppose.
G5. Once
D5.
again, the best move on the board.
D5.
No, G5. No, not D5.
No, D5 is the move he played.
No.
It's all about White's weak dark squares, as you'll find.
Activate the F8 bishop now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right, so
That did take a bit of thinking about.
I wouldn't have seen d5 straight away.
No, I wouldn't.
I think if you play the King's Indian, the key piece is black square bishop. If you get in the game, it's well worth the pawn sacrifice. If you end up with the piece locked in, you usually end up with a lost ending.
Well, most King's Indians I play, I would have been attacking on the king side. I would have had my G pawn and H pawn 2 or 3 squares up by now.
This is a remarkable game. I'm remembering it as Tim says out the moves.
So the knight's on previously. You've got to take the pawn, yeah?
Well, you can take it 2 ways. You can play pawn takes pawn.
Oh,
And the bishop wins.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
Bishop F5.
Gosh, complicated.
Knight Queen 3. And it gives knight to rook 4.
Oh, okay. It doesn't bother taking the pawn back.
Oh no. With the terrible threat of bishop takes knight, removing the protection of c5. And after that, he actually gets mated by bishop check, knight 6 check, and queen knight 4, rook 4.
Queen rook 5. I just seen queen h4. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh, he could take the pawn on g3, couldn't he? And then do that. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. So he can't do that basically.
that is vicious.
Yeah.
So he takes with the b4 knight. Bishop to bishop 4 check.
Yeah. Might as well stick that in.
King rook 1. And now again, it's knight to h5, rook 4.
Our old friends. Yes.
Oof.
And if I was white, I'd be starting to get worried now.
Yeah. Yeah.
knight G.
So white plays queen to king 1. Now, if Stein wants to play knight 6, it'll cost him a piece. But he does it anyway. I know.
Doesn't?
He does. Pawn takes. Queen to knight 4.
Oh.
But then, no, not quite, because pawn to knight 4.
And then good old G4. Oh, no, but, oh.
Now it's all covered now for the time being.
Yeah.
And it looks like black's in trouble with knight to a4 coming, but pawn to rook 4 is the choice. King rook 4. So if he played knight to a4 now,
Oh,
oh, yeah, that comes later. Knight to a4 now. Just as a sideline, if you want, Colin, or do you want to go through it?
no, it's what's there. So I'm wondering if the game is diverging from your book. So we'll go with what you say.
That's just to show you that after pawn takes pawn, there's no escape.
Right, yeah.
So knight takes bishop.
Yep. G3.
Oh,
That's that.
give away another bishop, but it doesn't matter.
Excellent on these.
But there's just nothing you can do, is there?
No.
Well, that's just for starters.
Yeah.
Very good. I told you Black was playing well, Tim.
Oh, so sorry. So knight a4 was played.
No, that was what if he had done that.
Sorry. Yep.
So I thought it was worth that diversion.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Is G3 any good for white?
D3 is the move played.
Right, just to give a bit more space.
Yep.
Yeah, he's gonna have to.
Got to have some space, haven't you?
HG.
HG, oh yeah.
King to knight 2.
Yeah.
King G2.
Yeah, just trying to make sense of this. So Black's a piece down at the moment. Yeah. Okay.
Can't play Queen H5 because of Rook H1.
Well, it looks like White's getting away with it at one stage, but
Certainly can't.
then things get interesting. So
Hang on, G takes F3.
no, Rook A F8.
Rook A. Oh, okay. Then we're going to do that, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
Yeah, because then
I
you.
reckon that's a move either of great self-confidence or blind faith. I don't know.
White Black's pieces are all doing something now, aren't they?
Mm.
Apart from the knight.
Well, yeah, but he's got a rook and a bishop and a knight and a few other things not doing anything.
It's the weakness of the white king that costs him.
Yeah.
Basically. So,
I mean, F takes G3 is a big threat now. Or the other way around, G takes F3 is also, they're both threats.
G3 might lose on the spot.
Got a bishop here, remember?
That'd take the queen, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but
You can't play F takes G3, can you?
okay. All right, carry on.
Well, actually, Martin, you can, but
I thought you could.
you lose a few points though.
Yeah, go on then.
So so bishop to queen 2 here. And then queen to rook 3.
Okay, so why is this working?
Oh, this is a clever bit. Rook to rook 1. Queen to knight 2.
What? Looks
oh,
like
of course, the denouement.
we're going backwards.
I'm guessing he's created a square for the knight, but who knows?
Well, if we put the engine on, I'm sure we'll find White's next move is a mistake, although guess is as good as mine as to what he should have played. Perhaps, I don't know.
What did he play?
GF, which I'll quote again. In the interest of closing the king bishop file to Black's assassin rooks, but Black's queen obtains access to the center after king pawn takes pawn. Well, that turns out to be pretty nifty. Queen rook to queen 1. So he should have put his bishop on knight 2, shouldn't he? Not queen 2, because then that would have prevented queen to queen 5 now.
Why is that good though, having said that? Okay.
Well, it doesn't go to queen 5 actually, because so I'll show you. So pawn to knight 4 now.
Yeah.
And at this point, Krogius has decided to return his piece in the interests of simplification with pawn to king 5.
Oh,
Yeah, it's hard to find a constructive move for him somehow.
Yes. So the idea is queen takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Then after everything's whipped off on d5, there's bishop to bishop 3.
Oh, I don't like that.
well, F3 check looks good now. Oh, I suppose it doesn't. It does simplify it, or it doesn't necessarily win, does it?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll put that on the board.
It's interesting.
The
The
queen.
queen's hanging now, isn't it? That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, that's a good.
Queen takes queen. Something takes queen. I'm not sure which one.
It's not that fantastic, is it?
So,
Rook e6. Oh, hang on. There's rook f2 coming. That's not.
yeah, there is.
Yeah,
Well,
they've got
maybe
rook
rook e2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not clearly better for black.
Yeah. Pawn down. Not too clever.
Yeah. Probably say.
So that didn't happen.
Oh, that was hanging as well.
Yep.
actually.
That. Yeah.
You
We'll
could
come
play
to
for
But we
that.
did have rook f2 check after it. So maybe moving the other rook across was more sensible to keep the bishop defended. I don't know. Very complicated position.
It is. It says that there's a counter attack if black just cooperates.
Yeah. So clever defensive play by Krogius.
So yeah, queen takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. And this next move, please note, that is a whole queen, since black is already a piece behind for no material compensation. Queen takes e2.
Ow.
Oh, and the crowd went mad.
No.
Uh,
Well, what if we take with the knight? Ah, hang on a minute. Oh, yeah.
Now bishop queen 2 has been disastrous actually, because he's got he just lost control of d5.
Mhm.
Yes, you're right. It's
So knight takes queen?
Well, queen takes queen was the game move, but we'll come to that. We'll look at knight takes queen.
Oh, you got bishop takes d5 now, check.
Yep.
good night, sweetheart. Well,
There's a couple of squares. If he goes to h2, we just move the knight, and then rook h7 is going to do the damage.
Oh,
Oof.
oh, that's nasty.
Yeah, that is nasty.
Mm.
So he can he's got one other move, and that's king f1.
Yeah.
And it's just pawn to bishop 6, f3,
Mm.
and there's no good move basically.
Oh, hang on. We're material up, so there must be something.
Well, what do you suggest?
Well,
Oh,
if-
probably F2 is a bit weak, isn't it?
I think also, yeah, black's going to be playing moves like bishop c4. You know,
Yes,
oh, yeah, that's nasty. I'll put that on the board.
those
Two
bishops,
bishops.
those bishops are like a couple of whippets.
Ouch.
Yeah, they are cooperative.
In fact, after the knight goes, oh, it isn't quite checkmate. How disappointing.
But why move the knight in the first place? Why not do something better?
Well, you've got to defend against the threat of f2, which wins the queen.
Well, we've already won his queen, don't forget.
Yeah, for a piece. And after f2, the rook's hanging as well, +4.
Well, rook h2.
Rook h2 looks immensely sensible.
We can still play f2 though.
Or take the knight.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's lots of things you can do, really.
And bishop c4 is checkmate.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Right.
Pretty.
So this is a forced win, is it, from this point?
Well, it goes on for a bit. He doesn't resign until he's about to be checkmated.
Right. So but we didn't play the game move. You said that wasn't played. Queen takes was played.
I've got to go back a little bit from here.
Oh, sorry.
Only a move or two. That's
Yeah,
it.
what a remarkable attack.
Well, that's what Stein was like.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So he took with the queen.
He did.
Check.
So the obvious move is f3 check. But
Which
is
was played. Which was played, yes.
okay.
Queen takes pawn.
Oh, what else?
Rook takes queen.
So kind of equal material at the moment for getting pawns.
But it's so dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, rook f1, is that a defense?
He plays king rook to f1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And bishop takes pawn.
Oh, okay.
Now
Okay.
defend against that.
Oh.
You have to play some rubbish like rook. Well, where's it going? Rook e1 perhaps, but doesn't look very good.
Knight e4.
Actually, if you go rook e1, you've got the rook f2 check idea again.
Yep.
And you've also got bishop h3 as well.
And bishop e3. Oh, actually, yeah, even more. That just means an outright rook as opposed to a bishop. So, yeah, even better.
Yeah, it was knight to king 4 here. After bishop takes pawn.
Sorry. I hit the wrong. I hit the back arrow instead of the forward
Yeah,
arrow.
that's what I suggested that.
It's as good as anything, but bishop to h3 check.
The king's
Still
just
got that.
exposed, isn't it?
It's a whole rook again.
Yep, king
Oh.
to h2.
My mouse out of the way. Yeah.
Rook takes rook. Rook takes rook. Bishop takes rook. Knight takes bishop.
Oh, yeah.
Rook bishop 7 check.
Uh-huh.
Just finishing him off. King to knight 1.
Yeah, that's insult. Well, it's injury to injury, isn't it?
Oh, the other piece is on as well.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry.
only
Yeah, he should have resigned here really, but he
Yeah.
played on for a bit. So if you're interested. So
Was he's a rook down, yeah?
yeah, he's a whole rook down. Yeah, well for a pawn. No, not even for
You've
a
got
pawn.
knight e7 check.
yeah, 97.
Reduce the deficit better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, knight c7 is better, isn't it?
Okay,
Yeah,
he's got a pass pawn, so why
Yeah.
not? Especially if they're both in time trouble.
Oh, were they?
I don't know.
They might have been.
I thought you were there, Colin. Watching.
If I had been, I'd have been 2 years old.
You started young, Colin.
Not that young.
So yeah, so after knight takes pawn, bishop to rook 6, and then pawn to rook 4. Yep. Rook knight 7 check. King in the corner.
Was he going to bring the knight round? That's
He
sadistic.
is, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
no. Help.
Pawn to rook 5, knight there. Knight king 4, rook king 7. Good night, Vienna.
Oh, yes.
Nice. Okay, what a great game.
Yeah,
Pass.
very good.
Pass.
So it was that a queen sacrifice in a sense?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, I'll class it as one, certainly.
Oh.
I mean, was White just gonna was Black winning anyway? He didn't have to do that queen thing, or was that queen thing go back? What was the key move where the queen went?
Queen take
Queen
e2 check.
Yeah, that is not intuitive. You would never play that, would you?
I mean, if you saw that as a puzzle, yeah, I doubt if you would see it. You know,
And that's when you're
say
looking
white-
at
if you say black to play and win here, it's by no means obvious.
no, I
Yeah,
don't think so.
especially when you can retake a piece with check. So you're a piece down, and you probably think, "Oh, goody, I can win my piece back with check."
Yeah.
But
But then the attack would go because knight takes, queen takes, bishop f3, and that's the end of it.
yeah,
That's the end of the attack.
yeah,
I met somebody that knew people that knew Stein. Yeah, I'm not trying to name drop here. And apparently he came into chess rather late in life. And he was a terrific gambler, and he would set positions up on the beach and say to somebody, right, well, I'm loads of material down. Will you play on from this position? And we play for a little, you know, side bet. And that's how Stein, you know, became the player that he was.
okay.
Because he would bet his shirt on it. And perhaps this is an example of that. I don't know, but perhaps it is.
Yeah,
Definitely queen takes e2 is not an obvious move, is it? So it
Well,
is.
no, but
Yeah, yeah.
It's
yeah,
got impeccable logic to it.
yes, it has.
Very good, excellent game, Tim. And
It's a knight sack. It was a knight sack that was risky, I think. But queen e2 just wins, basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it all hinged on not playing the move that I thought he should have played, b3, to block off the queen side and then go after the king side, which is what you kind of normally do in a King's Indian. But that then meant the black bishop got out later, didn't it?
You mean the light square bishop?
Yeah, it went from
But he wasn't worried. Sorry.
And the black square, and the black bishop as
Yeah.
well. Both,
Yeah,
both bishops escaped. I think going back a couple of moves, b6 was an option at this point. See,
Yeah.
I intuitively would do b6 because I'm hell bent on King's Indian attack. I'm going to move the G and H pawns up. I'm quite happy to block the queen side, which is normally White's only attacking area. So why wouldn't I do b6?
I think White, if it's sort of White, probably got a natural plan of a4 and a5.
Sure, but it's slow, and I'm going to go on the queen side. And
Yeah.
as it often happens,
You haven't started the king side attack yet, so
I know. I think Black's been a bit slow on the king side, in my opinion. But that's that is a bit awkward actually already. Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think Black's probably got to go a5 here, which isn't closing off the queen side really, but.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's,
I mean, it's still a game, you know. I mean, it's not easy that. I mean, there are just so many things. I mean, White's thinking 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces clamping on d5. You know, life's sweet, and Black just plays d5 and checkmates him.
that was the key move. Yeah.
again, if you showed that position to people and said Black to play, I think very, very few people would spot d5 there.
Yeah.
Just so unobvious. Give you
Go back a move, Colin. Yeah. No. Put the knight over. And now, as Tony said, if you're looking at this for Black, you'd say, well, I'm not going to do d5. That looks ridiculous. I'm just going to lose out here. But actually, that's probably the move, isn't it?
It was the very making of him.
Yeah.
bishop.
And it was probably part of the reason to play bishop f8 as well.
Oh yes, because
You know,
the knight.
in Indian positions, it's quite normal to play rook f7 to bishop f8 because the bishop on
Yeah.
f8 invariably is defending the d6 pawn, and then you play rook f7 to g7, supporting
Right.
the g pawn going forward.
Did White miss a chance to get a piece into d5? I don't think that couldn't have happened, could it? No.
He's just
No,
about
never
to
at
do
any
it.
stage.
No, before that, yeah.
yeah, he kind of just played around the knight on d5.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tim. That was brilliant. Those
Yeah,
two
great games.
So, James, I think you have a
Yes.
interesting game to show us.
Well, this is from this book, which I hugely recommend. Oh, well, we can't get it in. Oh, never mind. It's from the book of the Soviet Championships by Taimanov and Bernard Cafferty. Bernard, the great linguist, and Taimanov has now passed away, but he was a very strong player, like Ramanujan himself, not quite top 10, but he was nevertheless formidable. How do we make the pieces move? I can't remember. Do I press something, or is it that column?
No, you shout them out and I do something.
Okay, then C4, knight F6. Ramanujan is white here, and he's playing against Petrosian, who by 1975 has probably been enormously relieved that he's no longer world champion. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. But with Fischer, you know, coming and going, I don't think he would have wanted another world championship match. Knight C3, E6. Knight F3. And now slightly unusual, although B6, because I don't know what the other options would be. Maybe bishop B4 or even D5, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But here, a fairly uncommon move, says, I think it's Cafferty writing the notes. Black is willing to concede space in the center in return for a quick and harmonious development. Oh yes, he says D5, C5, or bishop B4 are normal. So white comes up with E4. And now bishop B7. And here is anybody care to put their shirt on what the fifth move was for white?
D3,
D3.
No.
E5.
No.
D4.
No. I think you'll find that loses a pawn, Philip.
Must be E5 then.
No, it's not that either.
Queen
No.
C4.
No.
Wow.
He played
You can play bishop d3 here, can't you?
bishop D3.
Oh,
That looks horrible.
Wow.
Well, I know it looks horrible because it goes against all the Fred Reinfeldt principles.
Yeah, pots back to c2. Sort of, it's very similar to like Ponziani. You can play with e4 and then c3 and bishop d3 and c2.
Right. Well, I didn't know that. There was a game of John Upham's at the British under-21s, which was one of the most tear-jerking tournaments, Brighton 1980 against Dave Carlos, a player you may know of. And John didn't know this game. So I said to him, you should have played bishop d3. It says a move characteristic of Ramanujan, who was known from the earliest appearance as an independent and sometimes provocative thinker. I looked up his Wikipedia entry, and it said that how deeply Ramanujan researches these things. Anyway, d6. And he quotes an offshoot, which I will not quote, the game Pologievsky-Galko, played in the same event. And now the bishop, rather like in a Kopek system, you may know of that, gets out the way and goes to c2. Thank you. And now c5 with contesting the center. And now d4, more mainstream. C takes d, knight takes d. If you didn't know any better, and I don't know any better, maybe this could have come from a Sicilian. I'm not sure. Anyway, bishop e7. Castles, castles. And now, as the audience pointed out, b3. Knight c6. Standard fare, I expect. Bishop b2. Yes, and it says, in a roundabout way, we have reached a Sicilian. Black is rather cramped. Well, in the Sicilian he is. If you don't believe me, ask Kasparov to show you his game against Ivanchuk. And a6, please. And now good old King h1. Well, when Bill Hartston used to write notes for BCM, he was used to put after, and John Upham and I used to love to say it as kids, constructively temporizing. So King H1, okay. So Queen C7.
Sorry, James, elaborate on the purpose of King H1, please.
Well, no, I was, I suppose just to play F4 without getting pinned. But the reason I say it is because Bill Hartson used to annotate games using lovely cliches. And if King H1 came in an open Sicilian, he would say constructively temporizing if white won. And if white lost, you could say this loses time or something like that.
Right, I got you. But the idea is, for me to understand, is you might get a bishop on C5 or a queen on B6 or something later.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And then your king wouldn't be very comfortable on G1 if you want to go F4.
There's always going to be an element of risk about it at these open positions. And some of which is not particularly immediately apparent. So, Queen.
I mean, even here, if you played F4 immediately instead of King H1,
yes,
Black could immediately play D5 here.
Oh
He's threatening Bishop C5, and he's probably,
Again, that's another Bill Hartson quotation. Don't believe what you read about D5 equalizing. It's as frequently the start of Black's problems. Well, as long as
I get King H1 now, that's fine. I get it.
So did they. Anyway, Queen C7, yes. Apparently, Queen D7 was also played at candidates level in the match Meking Polygaevsky. Yes, Meking Polygaevsky.
Oh.
So Sandy is falling asleep. So we'll have to all that loose living he gets up to. F4.
Okay.
Rook A D8. Rook C1. And now a move which gets criticized, simply a loss of time. He could take on D4 and then play Queen C5 and offer a trade there, but he doesn't. He plays Queen B8.
Okay.
Petrosian, as we know, was never in much of a hurry to rush.
Yeah, the Queen can find a home on A8.
Yes, Retty would have approved.
Getting the Queen out of the line of the bishop eventually. The Rook, I mean.
Yes, you're right. Okay, then Rook F3. This is move 15. And now the feeling for danger, normally so well developed in Petrosian, fails him here. There was no need as yet to weaken the king side, and he recommends 15 Rook Fe8 and then Bishop F8. In other words, just sort of battening down the hatches, but not overreacting. But Tigran played G6. And now I offer a toffee apple to the boy who can predict the next white move.
We've got to move our knights to get this bishop on B2 working down the F6.
I concur with that in general principles, but how does it crystallize into a move?
Yeah, I'd like to make knight D5 work if I can. If I could.
Are we swapping knights then?
Tony, either you're playing it or you're not.
No, I'm not playing. I'm not making it work, but I'm trying to make knight F5 work if I can as well.
Oh yes, knight F5.
Yeah.
What about F5 there?
Yeah, that to bring the knight into F5 if possible.
Maybe that vacates E5.
Yes, the pawn.
Does, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Black plays E5 and blocks it.
Actually, the comment that we got from Tony was very far-seeing, because it says this move energizes the bishop on B2. It is in fact 16 knight D5.
Oh,
Wow.
This is a bit of a wow. Okay, well, Petrosian takes it with his e-pawn. And it's retaken with the e-pawn. And it says, what a pity, as Romanishin pointed out after the game, he had the striking opportunity, as recommended by the audience, of playing knight. Oh, I love it. Of playing knight f5 instead of recapturing on d5. Look at that.
Wow.
Breaking up the enemy king position. Wow. Well, there's an editorial note here. Somebody has stuffed something in at the translation stage. I'm not going to go through all these variations, but it's great fun. But I'm not. Anyway, he recaptured quite routinely. Oh, of course, the game isn't routine. If you put the knight back, please.
Yeah. Okay. No,
Mr. Whatever your name is, and take on d5.
certainly, Fred.
Right, said Fred.
Yeah.
So Petrosian must have been feeling pretty apprehensive, I suppose, at this moment. Knight takes d4. The knight really didn't have a future, did it? So, and now queen takes d4.
Okay.
So we are a piece down, but with the initiative. But is this enough? And does this justify the fact that the queen shuffled all the way to b8? Petrosian's queen is inactive. Rook d e8.
Yeah.
Well, and now a move beloved of the audience. What is White's next move?
H4.
G4.
F5.
Thank you, the audience. It's F5, opening up lines. The tempting G4 meets with the elegant rejoinder. I love that word. Oh, here we are. Yes. Shades of Reti, 19, Queen A8. Who hadn't seen that one coming? And then G5.
What?
Queen
Okay.
A8.
Gosh.
This is in the notes.
What a
And now,
brilliant rejoinder.
and now G5. And now what would you do?
Not that.
Not that, but it's not but a mile out.
Oh. Oh, yeah, that's not very good, is it? In fact. Well, is it bishop takes pawn then? Bishop
Yes,
takes
it
d5.
is. But don't try this at home. Yes.
No, I wouldn't dream of it.
C takes D.
Oh,
And
wow.
now Queen takes D.
That's the end of the attack.
Well, it says that G4 is tempting, but this is an elegant rejoinder, says Taimanov, or even Taimanov. So there you are.
Yeah,
Gosh.
very nice variation.
So it is. So we're looking at the position after 19 F5 exclamation point, as Eric Moscow says. Now bishop D8. Bishop D, thank you. And now another move gaining an exclamation mark, but it's not a Queen H4, which hardly cuts down his options, does it?
Hmm.
And now Rook E5.
Good move.
Obviously desperately trying to heal up his black squares at the cost of at least the exchange. Black does everything possible to erect barricades around the approaches to his king. Knight takes D5, fails to queen. Oh, we've got to see this. So stick the rook back
I
on.
like it. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, and now
Queen H7.
Queen
Yeah.
takes H7.
That's super.
And H3.
And now for mother and yes, and
Yeah.
even John
I
Upper.
won't play bishop H4.
And now,
That's it.
well, wasn't that pretty, boys and girls?
Mm.
So if we can go back to move 20, I played queen h4, and he's played rook e5, sacrificing the exchange.
Rook h3, any good? Because then he can't move his knight. Oh, he can still actually.
Knight 5, haven't you? Or not?
Yeah.
Knight h5.
Yeah.
It isn't played, but I can't see that it's.
No, it's not good enough. Queen
The thing is, I'd like to nail the h pawn.
Yeah.
Because those bishops are, you know, becoming a couple of rooks, aren't they? They're slabbering at the mouth. Right, 21 queen h6.
Yeah. Yeah. Block the h pawn in.
Yes. And now Petrosian blunders. It'd be interesting to know what the clock times were. The desire to bring his main piece to the defense is understandable, but Black has no time for this. He should expel the queen with knight g4.
Oh.
Oh, it does work. Yeah.
But instead, Tigran plays queen c7.
Which does nothing.
Which does very little, yeah. Now, the next move is far from obvious. So, gentlemen, I offer a competition here. What did White play?
How long have we got?
Forever. For all we know. I'll give you a clue. It's not rook h3, which I think I'd have played. It ain't that. Any suggestions?
Takes G.
No.
Rook C F1.
No.
h4.
Get out and don't come back. No.
Rook G3.
Yes.
Oh.
It's rook G3. He
Oh,
cannot.
yeah. Starting to get nasty.
Yes, indeed. Taimanov says he cannot guard G6 adequately, and mentions that knight E8 fails to rook F1, bishop F6, which is a bit of reorganization, and then rook H3. Anyway,
Why didn't you play bishop C8 a couple of moves ago to at least get some other pieces into the game?
you'll have to ask him, although he died in 1984. Well, Ramanujan is still alive, but
Yeah.
Petrosian died very sadly, actually. I don't think he had sufficient, as with medical help, he could perhaps have hung on a bit. Anyway.
I think he died. Was it died of stomach cancer?
Yes.
In his late 50s.
He didn't smoke very much. I remember seeing him at Bath 73, and he was almost as fat as I am now. And I thought, you know, that doesn't really suit you. I don't see you as fat. Anyway, there we are. What do I know? Okay, so rook G3 and now bishop C8, which is perhaps just waiting for the executioner.
What's happened there? Oh, sorry, I went down a different line, didn't I?
Yeah, bishop C8. He should have played that last move instead of the queen. Then he could have taken on F5.
Well, you tell him. Bishop takes E5. I suppose it's a gift. Yes. D takes E5. And now routine move, F takes G6.
Ooh.
F takes G6. And now, not that difficult to spot. Any guesses on White's next move?
D6.
Hey?
Takes G6.
Bishop takes G6.
Yes, his bishop takes G6. You have to give Black his due, as he exploits every last chance to save his king. So his next move is a bit fiddle-dee-dee. He plays knight G4.
That's a good attempt.
It's a bit last chance saloon, isn't it? So
Nothing else.
bishop, indeed. Bishop H5.
Ah, yes.
Oh.
Rook F6.
Oh.
And now a move I very much approve of that Blackburn would have loved. With Caesar's, as they love to say, quickness of detachment. The next move is a beauty.
Well, give us a bit of time to find it, James.
Okay, then.
I've got it.
Don't say it if you get it, but
No,
it's
no,
obviously
I won't.
crushing.
Yeah, I think I've got it.
By George, he's got it.
I haven't.
Tony, you're in the Isle of Wight, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Well, with winds up to 125 miles an hour.
Yeah, sets a new record.
Yes.
Yeah, well done.
It might have actually moved the island 3 inches to the left after that.
It won't make any difference. I still haven't got the move, so has everyone got it? Just
Yeah,
me.
I've got it.
No,
Queen
don't see it.
G5.
Oh, I might have it actually.
I think you might have it. What do you think? Let's have some guesses.
Bishop G4.
Yeah. Well,
No.
I was going to play Rook G4 originally.
I was going to play H3.
Well, I was going to play. Yes.
There's got to be something better.
Well, it's, as I say, I can only repeat that I said about quickness of detachment.
Detachment of what?
Well, a thought. This is something which we were so hell bent on a kingside attack,
Oh.
but now
Okay.
with majestic.
Oh, I've got it.
What is it?
C5,
Not quite. D6.
D6.
No, but I dare say that's very interesting.
Well, the idea is to cut off his flight square, isn't it? After with Bishop G4.
This all,
Queen's
seems,
on, though, isn't it?
this all seems a bit slow. Surely there's something more crushing.
Well, the Queen's on prise.
Queen's on prise, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Oh.
after D6.
Queen G5 check first? No.
No.
There's King H8 after that, I think.
Yeah.
Or Rook G6.
G6.
The move, shall I tell you?
Queen
Yeah.
D2.
It is Queen D2, as pointed out by very well-known president of Basingstoke Chess Club.
Wow.
He is president of Basingstoke.
Chairman.
Oh, sorry.
President and chairman.
No, I don't think it's John Shattuck, the president.
No.
Who is then? It isn't me, is it? 'Cause I never go.
They haven't got a president, James.
All right, all right.
Got a secretary and a chairman.
All right then. Okay. Rook F4.
President's gone out of fashion. President Putin.
Well, the president of Ukraine is a comedian. I'm surprised I haven't seen him on the circuit.
Oh, he's brilliant. You go on YouTube and watch his comedy videos. He's brilliant.
So
He's going to need them. He's been addressing the House of Commons tonight, hasn't he? Anyway,
He did earlier.
yes, I digress. 27, Rook F4, gentlemen. And now a move, not H3, as pointed out by Philip Ware earlier, but because you can play Bishop G5 and hang on like that. Oh yes, that's quite fun. So here you can't play H3 because of Bishop G5. You play Rook. You play D6.
Yeah, yeah.
It vacates the D4 square for some lovely checks.
D5 even.
Yes, even yes.
Queen's not got many squares, has it really?
Well, Petrosian is still chucking in his last £5.
Queen G7.
Queen G7. And
Just
now a lovely move. There's 10p on this if you can get White's next move.
How much?
10p.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
At this point, Black's nerves give way under the hail of threats, and he misses the last chance to prolong resistance.
Queen D5 looks a good starter.
It does, but maybe, as Nimzovich said, it's a threat more powerful than its execution.
Okay.
Seven.
It's D7. Who said that?
Yeah. Block
Yeah.
off the bishop. Yeah.
Because,
Well
as
done.
usual, a Basingstoke player finds it with speed of light.
But hang on. Bishop takes.
Oh, no, I
Oh.
didn't see that. But not bishop d takes. There comes bishop takes g4, rook takes g4, rook takes g4, queen takes g4, and rook d1. And if you can follow that in your head, I can't.
Yeah.
Put that on the board.
Yes, please, if you
So
would.
the point is that the d8 bishop is hanging.
Oh,
If the
right.
bishop moves, yeah,
Oh, yes, and then you can go all the way through with an X-ray.
yeah.
Okay.
So you win the
Okay.
exchange with nastiness.
It's not exactly a crushing win. It's more of a material gain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I like the fact that he switched
Yeah.
plans. That's why I like it.
Yes. I was expecting a crushing white victory. So
Well, I'm so sorry. I mean, if it,
is that what happens in the game?
It's quite
Yeah.
crushing.
We're up against Tetris
Yes.
matches,
after
yeah?
d7, he plays bishop b7,
Okay. Yeah.
and now, what is the final white move, please?
Hmm.
After which we can all go home.
Queen takes f4.
Yes, queen takes f4.
Oh.
I don't know if I'd have seen that.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
just trying to work out if it works or
Thinking
not.
about it. Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
this won a special prize for Ramanujan, which was a clever
Yeah.
combinational play.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It may
Yeah.
have been donated, perhaps not by the organisers, but perhaps by a spectator. I don't know.
no, that's good. So did he
So-
resign?
Is Tim still with us?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope that is a
very good, James.
Yeah, yeah.
from what you were saying.
Very interesting. Ramanujan. So he's still
You
alive. as
enjoyed
well.
it.
He is alive. As I say, he sometimes goes over into Poland and plays tournaments. And he did come to Hastings recently. He had a massive triumph in Hastings.
Mm.
Yeah, he won it once, didn't he?
Yes, he did, but he was
What was
playing
that?
very creative stuff with b5 and bishop e7 in the French.
He's one of your favourite players, wasn't he, James?
Yes, he was. Yes, well, yeah, probably because of the French. Anyway, there we are.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, James. Excellent. Excellent.
Nice game, especially against such a classy player as Petrosian.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Petrosian won the championships. Kasparov wasn't born yet, or if he was, no one knew.
I've got one
Well,
question
hey,
about
you.
that game. One question about that game. After pawn takes queen,
Yes.
is bishop g5 worth a go?
You can queen the pawn.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
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 Let's put it on the board though, just to open a variation, I guess. Bishop d5, and you've got to do it first, haven't you? I think.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's subtle, isn't it?
Mm.
Okay. Yeah.
And good night, Vienna.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I'd have played on in that position.
I think rook d1 might even win actually,
Oh, yeah, that does win.
because rook d7 is coming.
That's lovely, isn't it? Because you can think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it corrals the.
Showing that bit. Yeah.
I don't know if technically you can say it corrals the bishops.
Don't need to. I think just
It defrogs the bishop.
Yes, it's got to be something clerical, isn't it?
Yeah,
It defrog. Yeah, that will do. Defrog.
Very good. Okay, excellent. Thank you, James. Mark, did you? I don't think we've missed anybody out, but Mark, if we have, shout. Mark, you said you had a quick game to show us, if you have time.
So this is a game from 1992. It's David Bronstein playing black against. In fact, this is part of the quiz here, is to guess the player who makes the blunder, and we'll stop after about a dozen moves, I think. There's a trap in the Sicilian coming up, so.
It's not Petrosian, is it?
It's not, and you'll understand as the game goes on. You'll soon work out who it is, I'm sure. So it's white plays e4, Bronstein plays c5, knight f3, d6, d4, and pawns exchange. Knight takes, knight f6, knight c3. So fairly standard Sicilian so far. Bronstein goes for a6. White bishop g5, e6, f4. White trying to get a little bit aggressive. Bronstein plays knight b d2. Now I think White comes out of the book now and plays queen d2. I think the moves are queen f3 here, aren't they? And maybe queen e2.
I have a feeling, I might be wrong, that queen d2 might have been an older move, but I might be completely wrong.
Yeah.
So,
You frequently are, Colin. I mean, I wouldn't gonna.
yeah, totally.
Okay, so we're just about reaching your key position, believe it or not. Bronstein plays h6. What should White play here?
Ooh.
There's a question.
Oh,
And I wouldn't take too long.
Bishop h4.
bishop h4, and then after g5.
Okay, so White, famous British player here, played bishop h4.
Oh,
And Bronstein replied with knight takes e4.
yeah.
Oh,
So
referee.
a little trap in the Sicilian for you. And after bishop takes queen,
Knight takes queen.
knight takes queen.
We've bowled the pawn.
You've got to guess who the British player was.
Yeah,
Obviously.
and then let's just see just a couple of moves after this one. White retreated his bishop back to h4, and of course knight takes f1, rook takes f1, and White is a pawn down very quickly with nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And without boring you with the rest of the moves, Bronstein just ground out the win very easily. And much to my disappointment, we were hoping for some fireworks from him. We didn't get them. So guess the name of the White player who fell for
Julian
that.
Hodgson.
It was me, unfortunately. So I just wanted to show that game because obviously quite proud of having the opportunity to play Bronstein. We played him in Middlesbrough. It was part of a simul actually. So
This was in 75, was it?
this was in '92, and he basically came over and did a tour. This was after the war? No, but he came over, did a tour, and I had a chance to chat to him after the game, and met him again because he was in Middlesbrough and the Northeast for a few months, and he was a lovely man. Always got time to talk to you, really pleasant. And so really,
he would have been the guest of Ken Neat. I think he's the Russian scholar, isn't he? Neat, translator. Yes.
And I think I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name who hosted him. He was an ECF president who lived in Middlesbrough. Jerry.
Jerry Walsh.
Jerry Walsh. Jerry Walsh brought him over and paid his expenses and things. So so great.
That's lovely.
Great Ukrainian chess. And
so he came over to what, play in a tournament and did some simuls, or what?
Yeah, he did that, and he stayed for a while. But I think he did a tour of Britain, and I think he was just relaxed, enjoying things. And I think he was getting some funding from BCF in those days, and other people paying his expenses, taking him out for dinner, and he's just great, great chap. So so got a nice little got the game here with his autograph on the bottom.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, brilliant.
Yep.
Oh, that's great.
James,
Hello.
James, he was never a favourite of the Russians, though, was he?
No, he never recovered from losing to Botvinnik.
Drawing with him.
Well,
Yeah, but he lost.
Botvinnik,
It was a drawn match, but he lost because the world champion had the.
Why did that make him unfavourable?
Well, Botvinnik was one of the Russians' favourites, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a like Botvinnik. The two lickers were, if I can use that word, or even if I can't, Karpov and Botvinnik were very much party line, what Averbach calls party line.
Yeah, I think Karpov once was famously asked what his hobbies were, and he said stamp collecting and Marxism.
Yes, he did. Yes.
Do you think Bronstein wasn't as like, because he was Ukrainian and maybe not like true Russian or?
I didn't know that he was from the Ukraine. I just thought he was a Muscovite. Forgive me, I didn't know.
Yeah, I was the same, James, actually. Somebody mentioned it the other day that he was Ukrainian, but like you, I thought he was based in Moscow.
But that's the same with so many old Soviet players. They were all Soviet players. You didn't think.
Well, that's what they wanted, didn't they? They wanted it to be blanket.
You didn't know if they came from Georgia or Uzbekistan or Ukraine or wherever.
Yes.
And that's the whole point. And this is what's interesting by looking at the strength of some of the players. I mean, there were several top players from Georgia, wasn't there, and Uzbekistan and places.
I think all of the republics had their fair share. I mean, the person that probably lost out the most because the war was just ending was Keres.
That's good saying.
As Estonian, he really got the rap. I mean, Botvinnik absolutely. I mean, didn't just called in the KGB, to mark his card.
Yeah, I think when he first played in the Soviet Championships, he couldn't even speak Russian.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, I think Keres is someone who's very, very lucky to be alive, because obviously.
Oh, absolutely. No, you're right. No,
He
he was.
played in Nazi tournaments, didn't he?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Hang on.
Alekine did. I'm not sure about Keres.
Yeah, Alekine.
I'll have to check. I'll have to check through the books. I know he played in tournaments during wartime years, but I can't remember exactly where they were.
No. Well, I mean, I've seen a photograph of Alekine playing next to a swastika flag, on his desk. I mean, but on the other hand,
we'll gloss over Alekine, shall we?
Well, what?
We'll gloss over Alekine, I think.
All right, no, I will, at Tim's suggestion. Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
That's fantastic, Mark. Thanks for showing and sharing that.
Yeah.
Very much.
And the history of it. And as usual, James, thank you very much for not only the game you showed, but also the other things you've mentioned as we've gone through.
Yeah, brilliant. Great background, thank you.
The other old rubbish is what makes it all interesting. I mean, we all know these games of chess are. You look at the moves and you can put them down in a few bytes of data, and they're just games. But when you play them, they come alive. And what comes alive even more is when there's anecdotes and history and geography and politics and wars, unfortunately, that come into
politics.
Yeah, and it all comes into it. And unfortunately, today we know. In 2022, we're in a situation where there's war on mainland Europe again, and it's just dreadful. And I think it was good to do this evening. I think we probably need to do it. We've got a lot of material. I'm sure there's a lot more.
Okay, of course I will. Yeah. Gentlemen, I'll have to leave, so I'll see you in a week or 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Yes, Andy.
Yeah, so thanks for all the contributors tonight. Tim, Colin for doing all the moves again.
Thanks, Colin.
And James and Mark and all the contributions from everybody.